This week on the OneCast, we're breaking down the 2025 BASSmaster Elite Series and Trey's mustache.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. Huh? It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the OneCast, episode 108. Ben, Pete, and Don Juan in the studio, coming at you live, recorded live.
Trey is he's on the process of his retirement, and he's probably for 20 years he's not been able to do it. So he's playing around with some facial hair.
I know I'm talking smack, but I actually really like. I think it's fitting. You look like a good Michigander. That's a good Michigander.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Seth. It's a
it is. Yeah,
for sure. You know, I feel like I need to throw the pickle suit back on, throw the aviators on, and just, you know,
I like it.
I feel the need
for speed.
Talking about the BASSmaster Elite Series. But before we do that, head on over to OneCastFishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word at checkout, and save money on those snagless jigs, weedless nets, soft plastics, the apparel, all the things that you need to get your 2025 fishing season started. And I'm here to tell you right now, you're going to want to get your hands on the Nighthawks, please. And Ben has something pretty awesome that's going to be dropping in the online store here soon. It's a different color in the
Nighthawk. You're talking about the new colors. Yeah. So
new colors, yeah.
Hopefully, hopefully by the time this dropped, we got some up. But if not, it should be the next week. We'll have two new colors up in the Nighthawk to diversify your Nighthawk flipping.
That's right.
Swim jigging, buzz baiting,
everything.
Exactly.
Let's head on over there.
Super versatile.
Also, when you're online, head on over to CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word at checkout. Nobody's repping Carolina Waters right now because it's raining and we don't want to get our gear all wet. But if we were wanting to get our gear wet in the summertime, you're going to want those shirts because, man, those dry out really quickly. They got great UPF shirts. They got the buffs. They got the gloves. They got the hats. Everything that you need to stay protected from the UV rays. And they got that buck stopper shirt. Don't forget about that. Hunting season's actually not too far away for some people, you know what I mean? So head on over there, CarolinaWatersNC.com. Where else do I need to go, gents?
Yeah,
Got him.
But you want to get first? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it. Let's go for it. So make sure you go on your phone, App Store, Play Store, whatever type of phone you have. Go download the Deep Dive app. If you haven't already done that, take advantage of the free trial. But if not, you really want to go subscribe for the year because it's got a lot of tools out there to improve your fishing game. Trey was talking about it on our last podcast. He was at a Jordan Lake last week. He didn't have a lot of bites during the day. He pulled up the Deep Dive app and said, you need to go to this creek. And he went to this creek, and he put 3 in the boat right away. So a lot of great features on there. It's got your weather, your stream flow, your current, barometric pressure, all that good stuff. And it also breaks down, the best places to fish and ideal baits based upon all the data they have. So make sure you go check it out. Use that to plan your fishing trips, or if you get stumped out in the water, it's a great tool to use. Just put a few more in the boat.
That's right.
Yeah. From there, you can use the link in the description. Head over to Hobie Eyewear. Just click on Hobie Eyewear in the link. It'll take you right there. That'll get you our discount. Grab the Hall floats, which you can see Trey throwing a pair on right there. 100% upcycled kayak frame, biotechnical lens. I don't know the technical term for it. Go back and listen to our episode with Dylan and Steven from Hobie Eyewear where they talk all about it. But 100% upcycled kayak, plastic in the frame. They got a upcycled bag. It also comes with a 100% upcycled hard carrying case. Retail like $109 or something like that. You're going to pay way less than that if you use our link. So grab some of those. If nothing else, even if you wear other glasses and you swear by them, go grab a pair in the Sightmaster Pluses. It's going to make all the difference in the world if you are fishing in low light conditions. And then, if you're thinking about buying property or a home in central North Carolina, make sure you hit up our buddy Terry Carpenter, licensed NC Realtor at Caldwell Banker, Howard Perry, and Walston. Terry is there full time for all of your real estate needs, buy, sell, hunt. We need him to go look at houses for you. PCS season's coming quick. So our military folks, if you're coming to Fort Bragg, which it is now again, if you're going to be coming over to Fort Bragg, getting PCS here, hit Terry up. He's familiar with the neighborhoods. I live down in a lot of the neighborhoods that those military families live in. And he's somebody you can trust to take a look at a house, and he'll let you know straight up whether it's worth pursuing or not. You can get a hold of Terry at 919-475-5002 or carpenterT@hpw.com.
Not only talking about you live in the neighborhoods down in a lot of military folks, every single street in your neighborhood is military themed.
It is Bunker
I
Buster.
wasn't going to name him to give him away because
yeah, well,
That's all right.
it's fine. I mean, you guys can pretty much figure out like Fort Bragg. The areas around obviously are military saturated, but they did do a great job. Jumpmaster Drive and Abrams and Apache and you name it.
I think they had Strike Eagle, or maybe is that one of them?
Strike Eagle.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the cool thing about that, like, there's a lot of military history. There's so much history in some of these names. Obviously, not.
Well, yeah, the neighborhood right beside mine is Omaha, Point du Hoc, like all the D-Day landing,
100%.
beaches.
So
cool stuff. Yeah,
man, it's
safe because everybody's in the military. So
Yeah.
we're well
it's either safe or something else.
Prepared.
But
the good thing is we're far enough away that we're not.
That's true.
G4 Mafia isn't the one living out there wreaking havoc on the weekend.
We're about to break down the Bassmaster 2025 schedule, and you talked about Terry and buying property if you're in the central North Carolina area. And when we go over to this schedule, there's a spot on here that might bring some major attraction to North Carolina, and we're going to get there. But before we do, what do we got for news in the industry right now?
So right now, as we're recording, or actually tomorrow, the day after we're recording here. So the tournaments would be over, but the Bassmaster Open at Sam Rayburn will be wrapped up. So that's their second Open. Remember the first one, they canceled a day because of all that weather down there. I think they were on Lanier. And then BPT is at the Harris Chain actually this week. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to at least catching some of the coverage on that one because hopefully once these plastics are ready to go, I can actually get down there and take my trip I've been talking about for months.
Yeah.
And
MLF just wrapped up their first stage two weeks ago. We haven't talked about that yet. So Justin Cooper won that one. Congrats to Justin.
That was Conroe, right?
Conroe,
yeah. Yeah, that was Conroe, yeah. The stage 2 is starting right now. I mean,
super cold. Texas cold front. Those fish were not acting right. They still out there and caught a bunch. Jacob Wheeler's in the top 5 for AOI, shockingly. But there are some new names up there, which is cool. But it was a different kind of derby with the only one period of forward facing. Most of those guys found a really good forward facing bite first period, and they went out there and caught most of their weight. And there was a lot of criticism because they didn't catch a lot of fish after that. But if you go back and watch it, a lot of them dudes weren't really fishing after that. They were looking for schools of fish that they could go out and smash the next morning using.
That was like the one discrepancy. You go through all the comments on social media. I think some like 70 to 80. I think it was either 68 to 80%. I forget the actual number. But somewhere in there, all the bass were caught by the anglers when they were using forward-facing sonar. But I think a lot of the bigger fish actually came when they weren't. So, but that could just be a function of that lake. Most of those guys were using it during period 1. Maybe that's because in practice they figured out that was the best bite window. So, I mean, we're not going to know anything till the season's over.
Yeah.
And if you went back and looked, and Dustin Connell talked about it, like I didn't fish after the first period. He was like, I knew I could catch 60 pounds in the first period, so I went and found other schools of fish that I could go fish for forward facing the rest of the tournament. So that's the strategy, right? If you know you can go catch 60, 70, 80 pounds. Didn't somebody catch like 80 in the first pound or 75 or something?
They did.
If you know you can do that,
do it.
Why go grind the rest of the day?
Right.
Catch 75, go look at other schools and mark them and say, okay, well, I can come back here when I can use forward facing.
Yeah.
Look, it's not going away in the big those two big series. Okay, you just have to understand.
We'll get in Bassmaster second. You're absolutely right. It's all the strategy. I think the strategy would be very different if it was 2 years ago when they implemented this, when it was
5 fish.
5 fish.
Agreed.
That, and I also think it would be very different if it wasn't post cold front Texas pre-spawn when the fish weren't biting great, and they could have gone and done some different stuff. The only bite it seemed like most of those people found was, except for one, I can't remember who it was. One of the long tenured folks was catching them shallow pretty much the whole time and had a decent tournament. But
so
pretty much everybody else,
Takayura Amori, is that his name, right? Did I say that right?
Maybe.
He ground shallow the entire time, right? He was grinding crankbaits, chatterbaits, and he was doing really, really well, right? But he ended up running out of fish because we all know that shallow fish this time of year. don't replenish as fast as the ones that are out in the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
My challenge to everybody, and we are advocates of sonar, and we are advocates of the NPFL making business decisions. We're advocates for people making decisions, right?
Go watch the different ones.
Yeah. So go out to Lake Conroe during this time of year and go shallow in every fish counts format and see how you do. And you bring up strategy, and that's very much the reality. If it's a 1.8 pound minimum and you can catch 60 of them out in the deep versus 5 of them up shallow, which one are you going to do as a competitor? Right. And so understanding, like, there's a lot of criticism on that one because like 16 inches is the legal minimum on Conroe, but it's catch, weight, and release. So it doesn't really matter. Right. So you can be critical all you want, but those boys tied in some serious strategy.
The only thing that matters is even if they completely ban forward facing sonar, people would still be online crying about it. So
yeah,
you're not going to make anybody happy.
And
so they're
right.
complaining about it now. They're complaining about how many inches. It's been that way since the beginning of Major League Fishing. They've always been able to weigh fish that weren't of legal length.
Yeah.
As long as they met their minimum pound requirement. Kayak tournaments measure fish that are under the legal length to keep because they're not keeping them.
Yeah.
If you're not keeping the fish, the length doesn't matter.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, you're putting them back. So,
but I think it's really cool to see what those guys are doing.
Yeah. Using
that one period without or with and two without to dial in their strategy. And that's really cool. It gives you something different to watch.
I'm really hoping it'll be, we'll really, I think, get to see it better in Florida where things are a little bit more normal. They haven't had, Harris Shane hasn't had as bad of the cold fronts.
No, we're about to talk at the
but we're about to talk about it.
We're going to transition talking about Florida and talk about the weather a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see the rest of the year how that forward facing sonar one period rule plays out.
Mm-hmm.
This is just the first event, so a small sample size, so we'll see through the year. But the Bassmaster, the Elites.
Can I say something real quick?
Go ahead. I
want to say good luck to our good buddy Mike Corbishley, who's getting ready to fish his first BASS Open at Sam Rayburn. He didn't fish.
He's fished them before, but
I know he didn't fish one. He's that's right. He's only fishing the.
He's only fishing that division.
So his first derby kicks off. Good luck to you, brother. Great friend of the show, good friend of ours. Toyota Series kicks off as you guys are listening to this tomorrow on Lake Okeechobee. Good luck to Mike Johns and all of our friends fishing the Toyota Series. And over to Bass.
Yeah, so
I just want to say good luck to those guys before we get too deep in this.
I was going to make that transition saying, well, now let's talk about the organization that has kept forward facing.
The Bassmaster Elite.
The Bassmaster Elite.
They limited transducers to one.
Yeah.
Had to be on the trolling motor.
Yeah, so there's really no change there. We talked about that. But they can use forward facing the entire time.
Yep.
But we're going to break down the schedule here for 2025. Some places they've been to before. A couple places they have not, or it's been a really long time. But that first event kicks off
in February.
Today.
Right now.
It kicked off today.
Right now.
They're going back again. They didn't last year,
Yep.
but they're going back to a stop that they usually start the year off a lot of times. That's the St. Johns River.
Yep.
Down there in Florida. So should be a great event. We talk about the weather. I know most of the Southeast, New Orleans got all that snow and we got snow and it's been a lot colder here. It's cold here now, but Florida has not got all that cold weather like we have.
No, they got a little bit in the northern part, like up there around where St. John's and that Georgia-Florida border, but not like we did in the rest of the South. No. But I was looking at some buddies in like mid-Georgia today that are just starting to catch fish shallow. So I think that St. John's is probably going to be one of those shallow flipping, maybe sight fishing.
Oh, I think it totally is. That's always kind of how it ends up being. It's a tidal fishery. I remember when John Cruz won there a few years ago, he was timing his locations on the river an hour later each day because of the tide. I don't know if it's going to be caught on the main river, if it's going to be up in some of the springs and all, but it's going to be, it should be a good event, but
it's going to be a shootout.
Who's going to win it, Trey?
There's a lot of water. So I've been on the St. Johns River. You guys been on it before?
I know that's
St. John. Well, if you've been on the river out to the east here, you basically been on it before. Let's be honest, right? Yeah. Very similar structure, cover.
Minus the tide,
right? We got wind driven tide here and they got weird tide there. But
Real tide.
No,
real
normal
tide. Yeah. The cool thing is like St. Johns River flows from south to north and dumps out into the Atlantic. That was something I always thought it was really cool. But this one is really any man's game. But we were talking about it before the show. I think there's a couple people that I think have a really good shot. One is Hackney, because he has so much experience there. And Hackney is the reason I went down there, because he fished Lake George, he fished those cypress trees, and when I went down there, I didn't get a single bite off those trees.
You only get to pick one tree,
right? But and then there's obviously a lot of other people, but my pick for St. Johns River is gonna go to our boy John Cruz this year.
Ooh.
Yep. It's
Same guy I was going to pick.
It really?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
Just look at his tournament record on the St. Johns River. Like
Yep.
he's had a ton of top fives 2 years ago on the St. Johns. The year before that, I think he finished second
It says
or third.
John in the name.
Yeah. He's just being a tidal fishery, which he
Yep.
grew up fishing.
Yep.
It's just it's a river system. He has a lot of experience on. He's done really well. So he's always in the
Yep.
running. Since you picked him, I'm going to go different.
A different John?
I'm going to go a little bit different to a different John.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go with John Cox.
Okay.
I think he's due a blue trophy. There's no denying what he can do up shallow. There's no denying that he knows Florida. He's won a lot of money in a lot of them lakes in Florida. Had a lot of success. And he's been super close over the years. So I think John Cox might be able to pull that one out if John Cruz doesn't.
Okay. So we got two Johns.
So I am going to throw a little wrench in here because I just pulled up the weather for down there since we're about a week out, right?
Yeah.
So it's been 70s and 80s down there for a long time. Well, on the 17th, Monday, the first day of practice, is 59. And the days of the tournament, 68, 64, 69. That's a bit of a cold front. We're talking a low of 42 one night, low of 46 one night. We all know how those Florida bass get when there's a little bit of cold front. So I think practice may actually be really good for a lot of the guys. I
But
think
the Derby's going to be tough.
Yeah, in St. John's, everyone talks about it could be a century belt. Like, maybe 75, 80 pounds. Like, I don't think it's going to be.
So first day the first day of practice is the start of the cold front?
It's like, well, it's 59, and then the next 2 days, 70s, and then it gets kind of cooler again.
How much though? Like 70s to mid 60s?
Like 70s to mid to low 60s, but the low is in the low to mid 40s.
What about the wind? That's another factor.
Yeah, that could make for an interesting one.
Because like today was 87. The last few days.
Here's the thing though, if those fish are already up doing their thing and it turns into a bed fishing tournament.
And Wednesday, the day before the tournament, they're supposed to get a 1/4 inch of rain.
Oh wow.
Oh, that could make it even.
So the winds are supposed to be max 10 miles an hour. So like the wind's not going to be a factor down there. And so I don't know what's going to play.
You can hide in a lot of places down there.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's probably going to. I think it's going to be one on the lake, probably.
And who's going to win it?
Who's your prediction?
We got John Cruz, John Cox.
Jinx.
I want somebody different. I'm scrolling through the list here. I'm looking.
Snap, Tyler.
Do you think here we go? Do you think this is Bernie Schultz's year to win his very first blue trophy? Could Bernie pull it off? He's running a different boat this year, I think, too. I don't think he's running a Ranger. I could be wrong, but
no. So I'm going to pick a guy that I shouldn't pick because of the next lake coming up, but it's been a complete nemesis for him.
He's picking Scott Martin.
Yes, I mean, every time Scott goes to the St. John's, he gets absolutely destroyed.
Yeah,
like he cannot figure it out. So
that's true.
I think.
You think this will be your year figured it out?
I think this might be the year he figures it out.
There you go.
If I wasn't going to pick John Cruz, the Johnston brothers.
Yeah.
They're dominant in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Seth Fighter always fishes really well in Florida.
Yeah,
but I think the next lake sets up better.
I think so too. So moving on from the St. Johns River. So next week we got February 27th through March 2nd. We got Lake Okeechobee.
1,000% post spawn.
Big time lake. Well, they spawn there for a long time though, from what I understand.
So they do. I mean, they'll spawn from like October through March and April. But
the biggest wave is going to be definitely over.
The biggest wave's done because it's been so warm down there. And even like every year is different, but when I was down there 8 years ago fishing mid-February,
Yeah.
and the dates are 27 to 2 March, so a couple weeks later, like
Mhm.
there were barely any spawners left because it's
Yeah.
so warm.
Yeah.
The big push is done, I think. So a lot of post spawn stuff.
What's different about Lake Okeechobee recently? From my understanding, that lake is still high. Is that accurate? I know that, Scott Martin has been promoting hardcore. There's a nonprofit organization that is advocating to really save Lake Okeechobee and the vegetation and stuff like that. I can't remember the name of it. But from my understanding, the Big O has been pretty high and stuff like that. So I don't know what that's doing to the fishery itself, but I'm sure somebody's going to sack them up.
Somebody's gonna catch them on Okeechobee.
You can see Lake Okeechobee from space.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
so
pretty
last
cool.
year I think it was high. That's when Scott won the Open there,
He did,
and it fished very small because the grass was just so different.
Sure.
Somebody's gonna find them. Somebody's gonna catch mega sacks every day.
What month did Scott fish that? Must have been February, wasn't it?
It was one of the first. It was the
I
first
think it was
Open.
their first Open
So
last
it was like
year. So
January, February.
February,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So I'm personally
Who are you going with?
Okeechobee 2025 later in the year post spawn, probably going to be a top water flipping jig type of game. I'm going to go with my boy Seth Fighter.
Oh,
I think Seth is going to pull one out down there. He's always fished pretty well in Florida. Florida fishes a lot like a northern lake
Mhm.
from the perspective of the grass. So
Okay.
if you know how to fish grass in a grass lake, then I think Okeechobee sets up pretty well for you.
Is anyone going to catch him in the river this year?
I don't
know.
I guarantee a lot more people are going to look.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
they will.
guarantee.
Tyler Vet is not going to have that to himself. He's going to go check
If they're
it,
there.
guaranteed. For sure, because Florida bass move.
And that was that was a post spawn. I think they had a few on the bed. Remember, it was kind of a weird year.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't quite spawned yet. He was catching pre-spawn fish in the river that were staging.
Yeah, because that was their first event of the year. Yeah.
It was kind of, they were a little bit later because they had some colder weather and they were there. So they may not, if they've gone and spawned, I don't know if those fish hang out in the lake then or if they go back to the river. I don't know if anybody knows because nobody had done it before. He was the first one. So we may get a lesson and realize they go right back there. And
we may get guys going out in the middle of the lake trying to find little ice.
You could.
Places.
I mean,
who knows?
it doesn't sound like it's fishing as small as it did last year
No.
from folks that are down there now that we know.
I don't
Not
know if
fishing
we're
the
going to
elite,
see
but-
the weights like we saw during the Open. I think it's going to be lighter weights, but I very well could
Yeah,
be
they're
wrong.
mostly post spawn.
It'll be
Probably
a
a little
It'll
lighter.
be a little bit lighter.
I don't know if we'll get a century belt. I mean, it's possible, but
It's possible, yeah. But Scott set the Bassmaster Open record last year for heaviest 3-day limit, I think, which he had like 90 pounds or something.
yeah,
Ridiculous,
it was,
right?
Yeah,
So
But
I picked Fighter. Who you got, Trey?
I'm going Jordan Lee.
Jordan. Oh man, I forgot he came back. That's a good one.
I mean, I just
Yeah,
he had a good season last year.
Yeah.
He was.
he's
up
a
there.
grass, shallow
Yeah.
water guy too. That's been really, especially with a frog. That
I mean,
dude
if
can
it's
find
post
him on
spawn frog,
but
yeah. I mean, that would.
that's a good pick. Good pick.
man, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna go with somebody that just qualified for the Elite Series this year.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who's on a really good roll, somebody who's extremely motivated, has fished at the highest level before, and I'm going to go with Dakota Ebear.
Yeah.
Right. Dakota Ebear absolutely came off his I think it was his last tournament up in Minnesota on Leech Lake. Absolutely mashing him on a frog, shallow water fisherman. And I think it's going to set up for his strength. So I'm going to go with Dakota Ebear on this one.
That's a good one.
Ben, who you got?
I said JordanLee.
Yeah, you said Jordan Lee.
Oh yeah, you cut him off.
I didn't cut him off.
All right,
Yeah, somebody cut him off.
stop number 3.
Oh,
this one hurts.
baby.
This one hurts my heart.
Okay, we don't have the classic up here, but we know the classic is
Somewhere in Texas.
It's where is it in Texas? I don't know.
this is bad, folks.
No, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't feel the hype around the classic.
I don't
like
either.
normally do
This year's
year.
not.
But yeah. I mean, Texas is so far away. It's on not Fork.
So it is coming back next year to.
It's coming back to Knoxville.
So
we'll be there.
We'll be there.
Show.
Is it on
maybe.
Toledo Bend?
We'll be there maybe for sure.
I'm pulling it up.
Possibly
right now.
maybe. Call me.
Ray Roberts.
Ray
Roberts.
Roberts.
That's,
Yeah,
like,
That's why we can't think of it.
yeah,
not
it's
normal.
kind of a non-traditional, quote unquote, big tournament lake. Although they hold big tournaments there. I don't know anything about it. I don't even know who's fishing the classic this year.
I already have my classic pick.
Who's your classic pick?
My classic pick is Milliken.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, my classic pick is Milliken this year on Ray Roberts. A, because he has experience on Ray Roberts. B, I think Milliken really broke a lot of the ice last year on the Elite Series. And I think he's fishing pretty free, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a 3-day derby too. So I'm going to go with Milliken this year. Because I honestly don't know how long Milliken's going to continue fishing the Elite Series.
I don't either. I don't either. He's a guy.
But he does a good job at leaving people in suspense too. So Ray Roberts, Texas, that's going to be following the Okeechobee event, right?
Yeah, it's in March. Yeah,
before the awesome event that we're going to talk about here in a minute.
I'm gonna go with Patrick Walters just because.
Okay, P Dubs.
He needs to.
It's a good pick.
He needs to get a classic, and I mean he's always going to perform well. It seems like no matter where he goes. So I'm going to go Patrick there. And I mean, there's a lot of good guys. It'll be interesting. One of these rookies the rookies last year.
The rookies last year, yeah, they're all like going to be in contention. I mean, Rob G, man, that guy's absolutely a hammer. Cooper Gallant, that wasn't his rookie year last year. But I mean, dude, that's a hard one to pick. Even John Cox is in there, Shryock.
I think I know who I'm picking, but I'm looking to see. I couldn't remember if one guy qualified or not.
Who was it? Who is it?
I'm not going to say.
I might not be
I want to leave you in suspense. I'm going through the
and
list
actually,
right
I kind of hope. Man, there's so many dudes.
I mean, I also want
hammers.
to talk.
There's always hammers a qualifier of the classic, but there's like extra hammers this year.
Hackney qualified.
Yeah, Schmidt. So
Carl,
all right, I know who I'm going with.
Okay, who?
Lee Livesey.
Okay, Livesey. Livesey,
another guy that's got a lot of experience on there. He's been outside of the Fork event last year, where he finished dead last, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, on his home lake.
And he's won twice there.
And he's won twice in a row there.
Twice in a row, yeah.
It's not just because of his local experience. He's just I think that sets up well for him.
For sure.
I think Maddie was just outside of it. I was going to go with Maddie because post spawn down there, big bait, something he likes to do.
Because he moved down there in that area, right?
Well, he bought some property. I don't think he's living there, but he did buy a house that he was remodeling. I'm not sure if he's living there or not. We talked briefly about it, but I'm supposed to schedule to get him back on the show, and I failed. So, but yeah, I was going to pick Maddie just because of the time of year, and I couldn't remember. I think he was just below the cut line.
I got Maddie for something else.
But yeah, so I think Lee Livesey, home state, place he's got experience, post spawn, like it sets up to do a lot of stuff he likes to do. Either way, it's going to be a good one. I can't believe we couldn't remember it was Ray Roberts. But then
I can't remember Ray Roberts
just
because it's Ray Roberts.
Number 3.
Event number
this
3.
One breaks my heart a little bit.
This one is awesome.
This is going to ruin. It's 1,000% going to ruin one of my favorite places.
Well,
no.
So the reason why I don't say that is, yes, you'll get more pressure, more people come, but it's out in the booty.
You can't. There's nowhere.
There's no
there
place
is
to
where
stay.
there is where they're going.
Well, let them go there then.
It's not that far from the rest of the good stuff, though, and they're going to show it all. It's all going to get.
And once a bunch of people start tearing off their lower units, the word will get out, and they'll stay away.
So where are they going? That's going to break your heart, Pete.
The Pasquotank River, Pasquotank River,
right here in North Carolina.
Yeah, you're going to see a century belt. Albemarle Sound, Pasquotank River, the entire system, as far as I understand, is in play. You're going to see at least one century belt. It's April 10th through 13th.
So that is you, Pete. You fish the river way more than us. Obviously, April here is like on all their lakes right around here. That's prime spawn usually. Are the rivers prime spawn? Or are they a little bit later?
They're usually a little bit earlier, but with this cold we've had, they're going to be probably right on track with what we have here for the lakes. They're just starting to warm up a little bit now. There's a little bit warmer over there. They actually had colder weather than we did when they got all the snow and everything.
Oh, yeah, well, they got more. Yeah, the way it came,
closer
they
to
got
Virginia
more snow,
border.
yeah.
Water temperature dropped significantly lower than it has in the past few years. So they're going to be delayed a little bit. They're normally like mid and March, first week of April, right, get that big push. I think they're going to smack it right in the mouth. And even if they miss it by a week, they're still going to see a century belt because there's giants.
And as you were talking, a lot of it, even if they're on beds and stuff, a lot of it you can't really see.
Mm-mm.
A lot of blind. Now there is some clear water and
there's some clear water. I want to, well, if it's public information, nobody get in trouble, even though they're friends of ours. But like, there's certain parts of the Alligator River where it gets clear, where you can see
when it goes through all that swamp and marsh kind of stuff. And
yeah, just some different areas. There's some famous areas. I'm not going to put it all out there. Figure it out, but there's some areas where it is clear and you can see in pretty deep water. Now there's so many cypress trees and knuckles and they can get down inside of cypress trees, and even in those areas where you can see, a lot of times you can't see those fish because they'll spawn in a knot hole in a cypress stump in 6 foot of water where nothing is sticking out. You just would have to get lucky and see them poke their head out of the hole.
And that's the thing, like, like in Florida, you'll see guys use live scope like bed fishing, but it's flat and it's grass. Like, it's going to be a lot harder if they're on beds and cypress trees. It'd be a lot harder.
You'll see mile-long stretches of 4 and 5 inch cypress knees that is just a mile of them. Forward facing is not going to do a great job looking through that. Add to that, some of the rivers get grass on top of the cypress trees and logs and stumps, and it's a nasty area.
A lot of mudfish too.
Nasty area. There are a lot of bowfin mudfish, chupacabras.
Sorry, Rick.
So you think it's going to be a bed flipping?
I think it's going to be a shallow water
jig,
flipping bait frog. There's some other top water baits that work really well. Not a popar because it's too nasty. You would lose 7 gajillion of them things if you try to throw them down there. I promise you.
There's certain types of popars.
Shut your mouth, Trey. So because I'm just going to go first, even though I did on the last one. I think we might see Hackney raise another blue trophy in this one. He is probably the best ever and still the best at blind fishing beds around cypress trees. It's what he's done his whole life. He's made a living doing it. He understands the feel. I remember watching him in an event last year, the year before. He was talking about that. He's like, all these fish I'm catching are on the bed, even though I can't see them. And he knew they were on the bed just because of the way they were.
And it's a different skill. Like there's a lot of great sight fishermen like Drew Cook on series, right? But they're sight fishermen more than blind fishing beds. So
you're blind fishing beds, whole different thing.
Yeah, Hackney's a great choice. What you got, Trey?
I was going to ask you first, since you.
Well, so I was going to get a little bit off. I want to go with one of the young guys who's a great jig fisherman. I think that's all he throws is fish. You know who I'm
Tyler
talking?
Williams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good pick. I don't know how good he is in dirty water growing up north. Probably a lot of clear water, but he can definitely catch him on a jig.
He's definitely really good. He's definitely really good with a jig. I mean, obviously, he pairs his forward facing sonar technology with fishing jigs over structure and stuff like that. But these guys have gotten really good with putting their scope in perspective mode too.
Yeah.
Or scout mode or whatever you want to call it. I'm curious to see how that plays out. For me, I'm going to go OG on this one. Mm-hmm. And you would think I would pick Randy Howell because he just legend back in and he's from that area, but I'm not. But I am going to pick Jason Christie, right? He's really good at throwing a jig, throwing a spinner bait. They crush a spinner bait down there.
No, they don't.
Throwing top water.
Never a spinner bait.
So I'm going to go with Christie on this one, just because I think he's ready to kick some people's teeth in, right?
I'm surprised no one said Cox. I mean, this is like, Cox
is definitely going to be.
It's right up his alley, and if I didn't pick him for the first event, I probably would have picked him.
Yeah.
And John, listen, if you're listening to this, bud, they'll eat a wacky worm, but be careful with that thing because there's a lot of shit to wrap themselves around there.
They're on 65-pound weight with no leader would be my.
And then if I was gonna,
if we give out the juice, it's okay. It's now public information because we're a public podcast.
And you know what, Caleb Summerall, I know you're from Louisiana, man, and I know you're due for a blue trophy. You're a Bass Nation champion. If Christie doesn't win, I hope you win, bud. But I'm picking Christie for this one.
It's a good pick. Yeah.
So after coming to our local waters, almost, a couple hours east, they're going a
little more low.
Couple hours south.
Yeah, they're going,
semi-local once again.
There we go.
Over to Lake Hartwell.
And God, I just got to say, guys, St. John's, Okeechobee, Pasquotank, man, dude, all three phenomenal for viewership. Right, to watch at least.
I mean, you think about those first three events. Like
like
Guys
awesome.
are going to be scoping, but
Yeah.
like they're not your traditional
Sure.
scoping type of lakes. Like,
yeah, you're going to see grass, you're going to see pads, you're going to see alligators, you're going to see there's all sorts of cool stuff. And Pete, I know you're freaked out about the Pasquotank, but once people start losing their engines, like Ben said it, But anyways, they move on to Lake Hartwell. They go a couple hours south,
and then they're
of
just
us
going
here.
there a couple weeks later, 24th.
Wait, before we get, were you with me when we ran across that dude in the mouth of the creek?
Yeah.
We were like, how you doing today? Oh, not too bad.
River got me.
River got me today, and we roll by and we look, his whole lower unit
Whole
was
lower
gone.
unit gone, dude.
He had the motor
Whole
trimmed
lower
up,
unit
whole
gone.
lower unit was gone.
Yeah,
He's like,
he-
"There's a new log right out," and I went, "Doke," and I hit it right.
Yeah,
Said
we're
it.
like, oh, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah, so
So-
boys definitely got to be careful on
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
So.
They do. And then Hartwell.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, Hartwell a couple of weeks later, 24th, 27th April.
Yep.
It's a little
Um,
late for
like-
Spawn to be down there. I think.
Maybe because it's more upstate. So like, who knows with the weather?
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought Hartwell was on the South Carolina. Oh no, it's not on North Carolina.
No, that's
It's-
Lanier.
Yeah, so it's up
It's
there
not
on
on the
the.
Georgia South Carolina border. It's up towards Anderson. Duh.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Well, I think it is close to the border. It's just that northwest
Not
portion.
as close as Lanier.
No,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
as close
yeah,
as
yeah,
Lanier.
yeah.
Yeah. So they're. Oh man, I think it'll be winding down. They may still have some on the.
So I
bank.
think that one's going to be a
Is it in line with Murray? Is Murray further south?
Murray's a little farther south.
Murray's. Yeah, Murray's towards
And
Columbia.
it's a little higher elevation. So I think it could, it just
Yeah.
depends on how the weather ends up. Like it could be,
Yeah.
We don't know because our weather
And-
right now, we may
and-
never have.
I mean, there's
spot
a
again.
mixed bag there. So the spots will probably be done.
Yeah.
But to me, I mean, we know Hartwell. It's
Yeah.
a spot lake. It's definitely more scoping. A lot of times we see guys fishing brush piles. So like, I'm going to pick somebody like Cody Huff to
Yep.
go out there and
That's a
who's
good
just
one.
very skilled at forward facing and
Yep.
chasing those type of fish. And I think that kind of sets up well for him, even though it's kind of earlier in the year. But I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. Who do you got?
I want you to go first.
Okay. Well,
If you pick on picking, I'm punching you in the face.
so I think Patrick Walters is going to win this one, and I think it's going to be one off cane piles, right? So when these fish first come off bed, both the spots and the largies, they'll move to those cane piles because there's 500 million of them on that lake. But they get educated very, very quickly on that lake, right? So once that May, June timeframe comes around, those fish are the bigger fish are really, really hard to catch on those cane piles that are basically on those points and right off those flats that people have set out there so that those fish can transition back and forth to the spawning flats. So I think it's going to be one offshore unless somebody finds a really good bag up the river. And I think Patrick Walters is going to win it.
Good choice.
yeah, it's gonna be early post spawn. They don't all run to the cane piles.
They're
They
not
proved
all.
that in the classic because they caught them off of docks. It's going to be one off boat docks. And it's going to be one by our Hobie eyewear teammate, Carl Joachimson.
There you go.
He's going to go out there with a mag draft and a big bait. The last classic he fished down there, he had that one if he didn't fish dirty. Like
Yeah.
he lost fish on big baits. But he's got something special on those lakes with big baits. And I think he's going to do it again around docks with his glide bait, his big mag draft. And I think he just a good dude. Like you just want to see him win. I think it's a tournament that's going to set up well for him
Yeah.
doing that stuff.
You're right. If most of them are post spawn, it's a glide swim bait thing. I mean,
Mhm.
There's some big ones on them docks.
That could,
Now,
and
like-
so that could set up well for Zaldane too,
For sure.
what he likes to do. So,
yeah, I think he's more of a timber guy, like with the big baits. But yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
could be. But yeah, I think the cane piles are going to get hammered, and the guy that's going to win is the one that finds that dock bite. Like we talked about Seth, like a specific type of dock, the kind of wood.
Yeah.
These guys dial in on that
Don't
stuff.
count
like,
Christie out on that one either.
No, not at all. No.
Yeah, I forgot. Like he won there.
Yeah.
Right.
He
So-
did. He did.
But, yeah, I think that you make a great point. I hope our Hobie Eyewear brother Carl wins that event. Patrick just has so much
He does.
local knowledge, right?
But we've seen history.
But we've
absolutely
seen
kill
history
people.
kick people's butts. Lee Livesey, no harm, no foul.
It's funny because he's one of the few that have had success on a home lake.
I know.
If you look traditionally at people
Well,
on their home lake,
yeah,
look at Scott Martin on Okeechobee.
he
Like
finally won.
he finally won
Yeah.
an open
Well-
there, but he has gotten absolutely his teeth kicked in many times.
he did okay in the FLW. They haven't fished that much in
That's
the other ones, but like, yeah,
The last few elites he's fished down there, he did not do great.
yeah, the couple.
Well, he had a great first day, And then some people figured out where he was, and he got a little crowded
because they came and moved it on. Hey, but that's also a Florida thing. Like Florida guys don't do well in Florida. That's for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But and speaking of home lake and Livesey, I mean that's where the next event's at.
That's
Lake
right.
Fork.
Lake Fork. Post spawn, May 8th through 11th.
I'm going Livesey.
I mean that's who I was going to go with because he did so bad. He won 2 back to back.
He's got to have extra motivation.
Oh, but he has to be so angry that he was he dead last?
Dead last.
Yeah.
Dead last after winning the 2 previous year. And we'll get a century bet out of that one.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe. I just post spawn. You're not getting those big females. They're still going to be big, but
unless
to catch 100 pounds,
unless they're full up on big gizzard shad.
Well, I don't know if they've had enough time. It depends on.
I'm not talking about. I mean, pre-spawn or spawn, you might see 140 pounds there. But
I think we'll see like 102 ounces.
100, 101 pounds.
I can see that.
I
just think it's going to be a lot tough. Wasn't there 2 century belts last time?
Because that's 25 pounds.
Or no, the time before, G-Man had a century belt and finished second to Livesey with a century belt.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year, I don't remember. Were they there last year or the year before? Yeah, last year. I think there was one. But all right, I'll let you take Livesey. I am going to take. I'm going to take one. And a lot of people are going to like this. A lot of people are not going to like this. But I am actually going to go with Gerald Swindle. I think he's finally going to get a blue trophy. He's been super close on Lake Fork a bunch of times. And when they set up post spawn, he has caught a lot of fish post spawn on that lake in tournaments, thrown a Carolina rig, a big worm. I think there's definitely a chance if he finds the right pocket of fish, because they get sort of stacked up, schooled up on little humps and stuff.
You get all that timber and stuff out there.
Yeah, the timber.
And to be honest, I think this event sets up well for any of those rookies we had last year.
It does.
I also think anybody likes to throw big baits, but I've already picked one of them.
Zaldane.
I like Zaldane, Milliken. I think that's going to be a slugfest.
Milliken's a good one for that.
Just sort of comes down to who can do it for 4 days or 3 days. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So who you got?
So I'm gonna go with a rook. I'm going to go with a rookie on this one, and because I think they're going to spend their entire time offshore. Offshore's relative to that place, but I'm gonna go with a kid that has a lot of momentum. I'm going to go with Easton Fothergill on this one. The reason being is, big baits work really well on that lake, but so do small minnows. They work really, really well on that lake, and I think that kid is extremely dialed in with understanding bass behavior. And understanding the difference between what a bass and what other fish look like. So I'm going to go with Easton on this one, man. We'll see how that shakes out. But I think he's got 2 wins on the Open so far. So
yeah,
we'll see.
And then
this one's anyone's,
and they go to the worst, the absolute worst.
We don't need to talk about this place.
The absolutely worst tournament in BASS. The absolute most miserable place.
The shallow water grind fest, right?
Sabine.
The Sabine River.
The Sabine.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we first
how mad
talked
people
about
got.
People got so mad at you.
The Sabine River. I say it on purpose, by the way, for all you people that get angry. I'm trolling you.
I hate this event.
I know.
I get why to like the event, because it is anybody can win it. Like, it's a grinder. It's shallow throwing.
And look, like, I do think there is something when it sets up right and you have guys running out in the Gulf, going over to Houston and up there, like making 100-mile runs, like that can be cool, but it's just usually the fishing's not that much better over there, so people don't do that run. I mean, people check it out in practice, but
yeah.
Oh man. I
already know who's gonna win it.
Who?
Go ahead, Trey. You go first.
I'm gonna go with Brandon Polanek on this one. BMP, man, he had a tough season last year. And if there was anybody that was going to win with a big bait too, don't count Brandon Polanek out on any of these lakes. But, if it's not Brandon Polanek, it's Matty Wong. Matty Wong needs some redemption on that one, right? But I'm going to go with Polanek on the Sabine River this year.
Are you going Matty? Is that who you going?
That's who I was going to bet. If you want,
go ahead, because you took.
Yeah, I'm going to go with our boy Matty Wong. I mean, he's only fished it once his rookie year, and he was right there. Rookie year, because every other year they go to the Sabine. I think it sets up well for, he likes him grinders. He's been on the show.
It was Brock Mosley.
Brock Mosley won it last time, and I think Matty was second or third behind him. He had a really good derby. And I think it sets up well to do what he likes to do. He grew up doing that sort of finessey, pressured water type stuff. Yeah, I think Maddie's gonna raise that blue trophy.
Dang, I didn't know they went to the Mississippi River. It was cut off on the screen. Never mind.
You don't
that's
get to
too bad.
change nothing.
That's all right. No changes.
I'm gonna go Logan Lutuso.
Okay,
Great.
there
I
you
just think a Louisiana boy. He's used to that shallow water.
go. Yep.
You know, when's the dates on this again? This
It's in
is
May.
15th, 18th of May.
So he's used to like hot,
Yeah.
grindy type of fishing down there. But I think it, sets up geographically good for him. And
Yeah.
again, like we said, it's anybody's game out there. But it could be anybody.
Yeah. And then
So
they leave Texas.
Yeah, so they leave Texas and they go to Oklahoma, Lake Tenkiller, right? Now,
Yeah.
you guys already picked him, or you picked him already, but Tenkiller is where Jacobson got his first and only blue trophy win,
Yep.
right? Had a lot of momentum, won it on a jig, offshore, found some special fish, and this is the lake they don't go to that often, but this is the one that I am picking Carl to be a repeat offender on Tenkiller. I think the last time the elites were here is when he won it, if I'm not mistaken. I could be completely wrong, but I think it was 2017. The Elite Series was here, and Jacobson won it. They may have came after, but I don't remember.
I'm researching right now.
All right, Pete's doing some research.
So who you got, Ben, on Tenkiller?
This is like I don't know too much about.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with one of the guys who is. It's in May or June, right?
2019 he won?
Yeah.
My bad.
When's the date on it again?
2019.
June?
Oh, yeah, it's in June.
So
yeah.
Post spawn, offshore bite.
Yep.
Hanging a minnow. I'm gonna go Trey McKinney.
Oh,
Yeah,
going McKinney on this one. Okay.
Or really like throw any of those guys in there, but
That's
probably
true.
Yeah. Because it could be a grinder. Just
Mhm.
depends on how the weather sets up, how early they spawn out there. But it's going to be an offshore bite for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. What you got, Pete?
I'm going to look right now when they were there in 19 just to get an idea. Weights.
The game has
man.
changed so much since 19.
Yeah, it has.
Weights. Those are stinky.
The guys were barely using life scope back then.
Carl was really relying heavily on his Hummingbird 360 to target the certain isolated either hard bottom or structure or whatever he was targeting. But, he was doing it with a jig and he was doing it well. But, yeah, you're right, Ben. Like, scoping has changed the game. So
Who'd you pick, McKinney?
McKinney.
Yeah.
Who'd you pick?
I picked Jacobson. I got to give our Hobie Eyewear brothers some love.
Yeah, no, it's a good pick. It was what I was going to pick, so it's cool.
You already picked him.
Nobody said we couldn't pick twice. I picked Livesey twice.
You can't double pick.
I double picked Livesey.
I make the rules. Here we go. What do you got?
Why are you making them up as we go?
We should play Fantasy Bassmaster.
I know. We should.
I'm going Jason Christie.
Okay, there
Home
you go.
state.
Yeah. All right.
Probably has some experience there. No, I'm not going Jason Christie. I'm going Taku Ito.
Okay,
He
Taku.
can go out there and scope him up a bag.
Takumi Ito.
Takuma. Taku time, baby.
There you go.
Go out there, schwack them, and then head north to Lake St. Clair for their only true smallmouth lake
It
of
really
the year.
is. Yeah.
Mississippi River, they'll catch some on, but
Yep.
Lake St. Clair, man, it's full of 4-pounders, extra full of 3-pounders. You got to find the 5s. Last time they were there, our boy won. Joey Cifuentes
Mm-hmm.
won his rookie year. That was his second win of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
gonna go Jay Shakira.
Okay, Jay Shakira.
He's got experience
yeah.
catching century belt smallmouth.
He does.
St. Lawrence.
He does.
So
He does.
that's who I'm.
Yeah.
He does.
It's gonna be a slugfest out there.
It is.
It's gonna be a phenomenal
It's
event.
going to be.
And they're going in August again later, so it's
Mhm.
not going to be a spawn event. It's actually nice. We're going away from the St. Lawrence this year, because I think they've been there like 2 or 3 years in a row, probably, or every other year recently.
Yeah.
So this will, it'll be a great, amazing event. But yeah, I got to go Jay just because, he figured the smallmouth out.
Okay.
Who you got, Trey?
I'm going to go with our buddy here. He got his first Elite Series victory last year on the St. Johns River. And didn't he get a second victory in the same year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corey?
Yeah, Corey.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go with Corey on this one, just because he's a smallmouth. Like him and his. It's hard to say him and Chris, but I'm gonna go with Corey on this one, because I think what's gonna happen is those rookies are gonna come in this year. They're gonna beat the crap out of a lot of the guys, and I think the OGs like Corey and Chris and the rest of them are gonna get pissed off. And I think by this time they're gonna go out there and wax them. So I'm gonna go with Corey Johnson to win on St. Clair this year.
That's a good choice.
Yeah. I'm going with a guy who got his teeth kicked in every smallmouth event last year in his rookie year, and he spent the entire offseason catching smallmouth. Ben Milliken.
Okay.
He's going to go out there. He's got, I think, something to prove, because everybody called him a straight scoper, and he did not do great. Fouts. I was also thinking Bob Downey.
Yeah, Bob Downey too, man.
He's sort of a local.
Yeah.
It was between Bob and Ben, but I think Ben's going to have some motivation to go out there and prove he can catch smallmouth, because he did not do. Those were the worst tournaments he had last year.
Yeah.
Smallmouth events. He struggled, and then he spent the off season chasing smallmouth on big lakes, because he wasn't going to let it happen again.
Okay.
So I think guys put in the work, and I think he'll be rewarded for it. And again, you picked him for the classic. I think he's got motivation.
Yeah.
To win a classic and a blue trophy, because who knows if he's going to keep going.
Yeah.
Because he's been one of the most honest people ever with how expensive it is.
For sure.
And he gets quite a bit of sponsor money.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's complaining about being expensive, imagine what it is for the guys that don't have those deals. So
For sure.
I'm going to go with Ben on that one. And then they're going to go just a little bit west.
Well, they wrap up the season really.
And wrap up the season.
In a really cool place.
They were here 2 years ago.
Yeah, and the Opens were there last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, which is the Mississippi River, La Crosse, Wisconsin, right?
Wisconsin. Yep.
La Crosse, Wisconsin.
La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Every time I think of La Crosse, Wisconsin, I think of Tom Mansour, who makes his own jigs. He's an OG FLW guy. Man, love him. He's a cool dude. I've only talked to him on Facebook. They did a bass cave thing with Tom Mansour. But yeah, they're going up there. And actually, I think, didn't Fothergill win in La Crosse, Wisconsin, which allowed Jacobson to get into the classic because he double qualified.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, but you can't pick him because you already picked him.
No, I'm not going to pick him. I already got my pick for this one.
And look, like this is usually a shallow water game up there.
Yep.
Frogging.
Usually is.
I remember watching Scott's videos, and he was Carolina rigging in like 2 feet of water, catching largemouth and smallmouth, like in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and I forget which lock they always run to. Was a lock?
I think it's 8 or 9 or something.
9, yeah, everyone goes to. So this is one of those that could be anyone's game too, just because the way it sets up. If I had to pick,
who you going with?
I had somebody, but I don't know. Who do you got?
I got Brian Schmidt. I'm going with him. He won there before. He is very knowledgeable of that entire system. And I think, when's the last time Brian won? Like 2022?
Yeah, on
the Mississippi River. So I'm going to go. I got 2 repeat offenders this year, and that's Brian Schmidt. And who was my other repeat offender?
What else did you pick Schmitty for?
I didn't pick him for anything else. I got another repeat offender as an angler, but I can't remember who it was.
Somebody who picked what? Oh, you had Jockinson on.
Yeah, that's
Singular.
right.
Trey's going to Pete because he was a bladder of a 3-year-old or a 90-year-old, depending on which one you want to go with. Who you got, Ben?
I don't know. There's a couple guys.
There's a couple guys that could absolutely schwack them. I am going to go with. Can I pick one last name and cover 2 people? I think it's going to be one of the Johnson brothers. I just don't know which one.
And so that's
because the way they team up and break down water and share information.
No, I agree. They were on my list. Seth Fighter's on my list because he's kind of up there. I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Chris Johnson. I'm going to pick one of the Johnson brothers. I'm not going to cheat. I think they're going to go up there and do what they like to do. It fishes a lot like their home waters in Canada. They grew up fishing. I think that's
shallow grass, frogging, flipping, all of that fun stuff.
I'm debating between Seth and John Cox just because I think it is. I mean, John will get back in some small places up
Jordan
there.
Lee too.
I already picked Jordan, so I'm not going to double up. But I'm gonna go Seth because Seth, I think, has had a rough couple years ever since he really won Angler of the Year a few years ago.
Yeah, hasn't been super consistent.
hasn't
He's
been-
done enough to maintain, but
That's kind of his neck of the woods, kind of up there. I forget. Is he from Wisconsin, Michigan,
It's from Minnesota.
Minnesota? I knew it was
It's
one of those
from,
upper Midwest.
It's all pretty
Minnetonka area, I think.
Yeah.
It's all pretty
So
much
yeah,
the
I'm gonna go Seth Fighter. I think he's
Okay.
kind of due. It's been struggle a little bit since his Angler of the Year win, and
Mm-hmm.
that'll be a good one. And that the last event too, if you win, you're in the classic. It's one of those automatic qualifiers, which
Mhm.
is pretty cool. So
And I'm not
That's
telling you
true.
who I picked because you had to run out and pee like a.
Who do you pick?
He's not going to tell you either. We swore to secrecy.
Was it-
I picked
was
Chris
it-
Johnson.
Oh, did you?
I picked Johnston. I just picked the last name, and
You
then I
can't do
decided to dial it in and went with Chris. Even though Corey is a friend of the show we've had on,
we can't pick him all the time.
we can't always pick Corey,
Yeah.
so I went with Chris on that one. But that's another one. Bob Downey could be in. That
Bob
one.
Downey.
He grew up in that area, has fished it.
Mhm.
Like, there's a lot of folks up that way that are used to fishing that shallow water grass. The Florida guys could go up there, like you said. You were torn between Cox and Fighter. Who'd you end up picking, Trey?
I picked Brian Schmidt.
That's
on
right,
that
Brian
one.
Schmidt, who's won there before, fishes similar to the rivers he grew up on in Virginia. I think he lives in Florida now.
Does he live in Florida?
I think so. I don't know.
I think he still lives out.
He's still in Virginia
Yeah.
or somewhere. Yeah. Anyway,
Maryland, maybe.
Maryland. Yeah, I know because he grew up around the missile shop and is Missile's one of his guys, and he spends a lot of time around them. And I remember seeing his boat with snow on the cover,
Mhm.
so probably not Florida.
Yeah.
except this year.
Except this year,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so that's our 2025. I was going to write down everybody we picked so that I didn't have to go back and listen to this. And, I forgot to do that, so now I'm going to have to go back and listen to it.
Oh no, we just need to put the transcript in AI and tell.
Oh
There we
yeah,
go.
we'll just punch it in
Yeah.
AI and it'll tell us who we picked, and then we will try to keep up and see how good I am.
But
because
wait.
I definitely won them all.
Did we pick ROI and AOI?
Oh
No, we didn't.
So,
Now I got to pick up the rookie class.
well, here's
let's do Rookie of the Year.
Here's the
first.
thing, man. Like it's hard to count that Easton Fothergill guy out of
I mean, that's who I was going to
Rookie of the
But
Year.
you get Dakota,
But yeah,
Cody Meyer.
Cody
Some
Meyer.
guys have been around a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, to be honest, the way it sets up this year, because you have less traditional life scope locations when you look at the first three we talked about. St. John's, Okeechobee,
Mm-hmm.
here in North Carolina, and even the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
So, I think Dakota.
Are you trying to find AOI for last year?
No, I was trying to find.
And Dakota's
Rookie of the
count.
Year.
He's never fished Bassmaster, right? He was FLW, and then
I don't know.
I thought
MLF.
I thought he started in. Oh my god!
because if he has, I don't think he'd be qualified for a rookie if he's coming back.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure. Dakota Ebear, Elite Series Angler.
I thought he fished it and he left.
Well, we're looking at. He's got 14
No,
total
so he
tournaments.
hasn't.
Well, it could be.
Not the elites, though. I don't think that would all been opens. Yeah, open.
Yeah, so I'll go Dakota Ebear for Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
Open. Just to make sure.
Isn't that a weird thing? Dakota Eber,
Yeah.
who's been fishing professionally for a long time, fish a Bass Pro Tour. Now you're the rookie.
Fished FLW too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I don't know who all the rookies are, so I'm just gonna go.
I don't-
Easton Father. Oh, be quiet, man.
Cody Meyer, Paul Marks,
Paul Marks.
who's been
Yeah.
close on the Open for a couple years in a row and
Yeah.
finally qualified. So,
Yep.
I mean, there's some hammers coming up. So,
There are. Bo Browning.
Mhm.
I'm going to go with Bo Browning.
Okay.
Right. His dad used to fish the Elite Series. Right. Bo Browning's a hammer. He was one of the top 9 that qualify for the Elites this year. And so, yeah, I'm going to go with him. Pete, who you got? Eastern Fothergill?
I'm gonna go with Easton, man. He's riding a lot of momentum.
He is. 2
mean,
wins and an AOI.
We all
Like,
know how
come on,
important
dude.
That is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Easton has a shot, so I'm gonna go with Easton.
All right. What are we looking for? AOY 2025 Bassmaster Angler of the Year. The OneCast predictions right here.
That's the most consistent angler, man. Oh man. So I think it's going to be somebody who is life scope focused, because I think these, when I don't want to say life scopers, but these guys who are really good at it, a lot of times they don't have terrible tournaments, They may not win, they may not be top 20, but they're usually pretty consistent with their bite. So someone who was close last year too, I'm gonna go Cody Huff.
Okay, Cody Huff. Pete, who you got?
You got to pick first.
I got to pick first.
That's because you don't know what he's thinking.
I'm gonna go with one of our buddies or one of the guys from Canada on this one. So he's not a rookie this year. He wasn't a rookie last year, but he had a really cool YouTube series called The Chase, right? And his name is Cooper Gallant, and he is a phenomenal angler. He has yet to have a win on the Elite Series, but he had a win at the Opens, I want to say. And he's I don't even know what he finished this year. What did he finish this year, Pete, or last year? Cooper Gallant, somewhere in maybe the teens or 20s or something. I'm not sure. 17. But he's just gotten better and better and better. And that's what I think is very important to recognize. Some of these guys, they'll kind of stay middle of the pack for a while. Maybe they'll have a good year. Maybe they'll have a bad year. But Coop seems to continue climbing. And so I think that'd be really cool to see him to hoist that. And I think that would be the second Canadian Angler of the Year because Chris obviously won it in 2024. And I think Coop is he's definitely well on his way to winning something like that. What you got, Pete? It's so hard.
It's like a crapshoot.
It is. I mean, there's no wrong answers, bro. Like, there's no.
You're not first, you're last.
Ricky Bobby's winning.
And if you were last, you might be first this year. I mean, it's just crazy
how
it goes now.
Yeah, I don't think we got to worry about that.
Don't put too much thought in it.
I mean, those guys.
I'm just trying to think if a dude is going to ride a wave.
Yeah,
and I think he is Kyle Welcher.
Okay,
I think he's going to follow up an NPFL AOI with an Elite Series AOI.
Second Elite Series AOI.
Second Elite Series.
Second Elite Series.
He was 23, 22?
He was 22s. 23s. I think he was the 23s. Yeah. So,
I think he's always been consistent. He had a little bit of a down year last year, but I think it was also some of that might have been his first year fishing 2 tours.
Yeah.
So figuring that whole thing out.
And he played with Scope a lot more too.
He played with Scope a lot more last year because he's not, despite what everybody wants to say, one person wants to say, just because you have a flat brim hat doesn't mean you're a scoper and have daddy's money. Most people will know who I'm talking about.
I mean,
I think he's just he's riding a wave, right?
Dude,
the dude's got momentum coming into this year.
What he finished last year?
Last year he struggled a little bit.
I don't think he's even in the Classic this year. I don't think so. Go down to 50, 40.
Hold on. It doesn't mean he finished that low.
Yeah, he did. I know he did.
You know for a fact?
Yeah, he's 46, so he's not in the Classic.
Yeah, so not in the Classic. So now he's going to want a little bit of redemption.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I do. I think he's a guy. He was up there for a bunch of years, and then he fell down a little bit last year. But
listen, Kyle. If it's not Greg Hackney, Kyle Welcher can skip a jig, my friend. He can fish a jig. He can skip. He can pitch. He can do all those things.
There's a lot more events to set up this year where I don't think forward facing are going to be as important.
Right. Yeah.
And
we think
we always say that, but
we think, but I do think that some of these guys that were really good with forward facing are going to be impacted by only having one transducer. And I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when guys are running 3 and they have perspective mode and they can see 180 degrees live around their boat,
that's true.
And then they can pinpoint with one that's facing forward, it changes what you're seeing and processing. So yes, 360 shows stuff, but it doesn't show fish in real time.
And some of these guys I don't think very many also had the scope transducers on the transom.
They did. They also had the crappy brakes, which they outlawed this year. You can't have the trolling motors on, which makes it a little bit easier to follow fish. They did some things that are gonna change a little bit of the way some of these guys did things last year. And also, like I said, the fisheries traditionally look to set up better to where those guys that aren't as good with it can compete a little bit more. Not that it's an excuse if you don't compete. You can't use a tool as a crutch, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a good year. I'm looking forward to it. Always am. Looking forward to the elites. again, they're a good organization. They've got, I don't think they've announced the changes to pay versus not pay. I know there's no entry fees, but they were working something with the anglers where there was going to be some.
It's a side pot deal, basically.
No. They came out with a
They
press,
increased payouts.
They came out with a press release,
But I thought that was tentative and it wasn't official.
No, you can Google it. I think because it's because there was
chill out, Tommy.
There was a comment on YouTube I replied to, but I think what it is, if I remember looking it up, Anglers agreed to pay $10,000 for the year.
Okay.
So
everyone's $2,000 event, right?
Yeah. So basically $10,000 for the year, and that increased the payouts, and so that was all paid back to the anglers. So.
Right.
That's right. I remember seeing that now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, be a little bit different with. I think everybody's going to fish a little bit more free because there's not as much financial burden from an entry fee standpoint. That, of course, is assuming that sponsors allowed them to use that money for other expenses. Because I know people have it in their head that if a sponsor says they're going to give you $10,000, you can use that $10,000 for however you want. And that's
there are stipulations.
Sometimes they do say this is for your season, but a lot of times a company would earmark, here's $45,000. This is your entry fee.
That's right.
And that was what that money had to go to. So hard to say how that shifted. But I still think even if it's only $10,000, that a sponsor has to provide you, you're not as worried about chasing folks. So, looking forward to what are you looking at?
I'm just see the Bassmaster Classic returns in Knoxville for 2026.
I know.
And I'm just like, Gussie, like
it'll be a good one.
Are those bass, those smallies still going to be down there?
Did they set dates?
I don't know.
I'm gonna pull it up real quick while we're talking mass. March 13th through 15th.
So it starts.
Oh my goodness. Tommy really wants you to join BASF.
Tommy Sanders, everyone.
So that's the one thing about the Bassmaster website.
I forgot they autoplay the.
That's my son's birthday though, March 13th. So that's pretty cool.
Trey's not gonna be able to go.
No.
He's out.
I'll actually be fishing the
Pete
Classic,
and I will
folks.
be there. Oh yeah, you gonna go win an open this year?
Yeah, it's too easy, dude.
Too easy. All you need is forward facing the flat brim hat and daddy's money.
Are they gonna have an open on bugs? I got this. No problem.
They got daddy's money.
Yeah. Powell Kemp, watch out. Here I go.
All right, y'all. Let us know your thoughts on the 2025 Elite Series season. Who you think is going to be AOI, ROI? I'm actually probably going to ask that on Fishing Friday.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this now, you missed
it.
So
that'd be a great thing to do for a giveaway. Maybe we'll talk about that later, folks.
Oh, maybe we will.
If someone gets it.
That's right.
Hey, also look out for some charity, or not raffles, but bidding type things that we're working on. So keep an eye out for that. We'll talk about more to come to help out one of the veteran organizations we work with. You guys got anything else?
No, guys.
No, y'all appreciate it all. Leave us a review, 5 stars if you please, 1 star if you don't.
5 stars
Tell
for
us
the
why.
mustache.
5 stars for Trey's mustache. And he will be giving out rides at the class next year. Help us continue to grow a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.